have already our first technical difficulty, but I have
It's all right. It's all right. It should be going now. I don't know why it wasn't.
Okay.
Let me see the vertical stream. Yeah, there it goes. Sorry about that. Okay.
Good.
Apologize for those of you who missed the opening. So I pay attention to what people are doing in the space, and so there's one person that we used to quote a lot are these guys from the Majority Report, which are like progressive YouTubers. You guys remember the famous, literally 100 or so years ago, women were still viewed as chattel. Those were the Majority Report guys, and they still are around. And so Sam Cedar, who runs the Majority Report, was doing an episode of Jubilee called Surrounded. And this is relevant because I'm just telling the backstory of how we got here. And Surrounded is when you have one person with an opinion surrounded by a bunch of people who have an opposing opinion, and they take turns debating that guy in the middle, right? And I think Jordan Peterson did one, stuff like that, okay? So, and Mehdi Hassan did it. So this was with Sarah Stock, the first time I ever saw her, okay? She was on this. So I'm just going to show you, this is the question or the statement that needs to be refuted is, unless you're a billionaire, religious fundamentalist, or a xenophobic nationalist, voting for Trump was a mistake. This is a political question. I understand that. Bear with me, please. Don't freak out. So we're going to listen to this. Okay, there's no sound right now. So I got to this is a thing that happens with this tool. I don't know why. Okay, so let's do it again.
Hi.
Sam.
So I actually think that this liberal world order needs to be thrown away completely, and I think Christian nationalism would be a good alternative. What we're seeing right
Is that
now,
me?
Congratulations.
yeah, and
Am I echoing?
yeah, I think
What?
Am I echoing, or is this just a poor recording?
What was that?
Am I echoing, or is this a poor recording?
No, I think it's just here. I'll put my headphones on. It might just not be a great recording.
No, I would
So
not
no, it's
doubt it.
fine. It's
Looks
fine.
like they
I'll
recorded
just
in
plug my
some kind
headphones
of
in. That should
closet
help.
or
My point is, she shows up out of nowhere. You have this blonde girl. She sits down and she makes like a crazy statement. Okay, xenophobia is good actually, and with the sort of like fringe Zoomer right, this was popular, and then she suddenly blew up, and she was like, for some reason, it's like the other girl who basically just said an N-word on like an Instagram video, and then she blew up, and now she's like doing the rounds on all these sort of like, dissident right, supposedly Paleo Christ Con types websites. And I saw that and I was like, okay, well, whatever. She's trying to be edgy, but it worked out. It worked out so well that I guess she got a job working for this guy named Elijah Schaffer, who ran a website, I think called, oh man, he had a YouTube channel. I think it was called Slightly Offensive. And it started off as a man on the street thing. And then over time, he became more and more sort of like, identitarian and doing more content along those lines. And so she started working with him in this. And then I guess somewhere along the way, she got engaged. And so what I'm saying is, you have like a girl who started off on the internet saying stuff that got her attention, because it did. And then eventually that got her a man. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also got engaged to that man. And of course, what I think this exposes in a way is that the online social like world is not the real world at all. Like, these people know each other only through the internet. And what she started when she said "I won" and showed her ring was essentially a flame war between women online. They were making fun of the size of the stone. It was all like this sort of clout chasing thing. And Pearl correctly pointed out, said hottest right, and so like this post no longer exists because of what the consequence of the story we're discussing, where Sarah Stock was basically committing adultery or cheating on her fiance, and she was shamed off the internet. So her posts are no longer available to look at. So what this post is actually this post right here, which is a screenshot. Okay. So
yeah.
Pearl
said,
let
me just describe this for anybody who's just listening. She's holding out her hand, and she has an engagement ring on her whatever finger she has engagement rings.
Left ring finger. That's where it
Yeah,
goes.
and she's basically saying I won, showing off the engagement ring. And I remember when the chaos around this happened, and I sort of waded in a little bit, and I said, yeah, I think Pearl has a point. But you know, I mean, maybe I would give it to her because it's sort of like a something personal to her. The guy she was engaged to made the ring, but it still seems very mercenary and narcissistic, and it's like, yeah, it's a bit of a red flag. And I think Pearl is right on that score. Because it isn't about like, what are you going to show Pearl's tweet? Because
I did.
Yeah, Pearl essentially says,
"This is what I have," but
not pictured the husband. And that's
Yeah.
a really good point, because it becomes about the competition between women in the traditionalist space. Like the competition in the liberal space between women is how quickly you can yeet a man, or how much you can say you don't desire men, because it seems to be more around rejecting men in the liberal space. But in the traditionalist space, it is still about, you know, getting a man. But both cases, it's not about the man. So I think Pearl had a really good point here. You know, you're not marrying a ring, you're not marrying a marriage ceremony, you know, you're not marrying a party, you're not marrying your friends having fun for a night. You are marrying a man, right? And I think that, like I said, I think she really did hit on something when she criticized this behavior. But anyway, I think why don't you update us on the latest happenings?
Yeah, so then you know, Sarah Stock took advantage of this. Obviously, everything, and this is what Pearl had said, and I've said this too. A lot of all I can call them is like conservative LARPers. Like they're building a brand for themselves, and they're showing it all to the internet. You know, so that it has like it really reeks of being fake, because I know real like conservative people, and they're just not online at all, right?
Yeah.
They're just doing their life. So people who are saying, here's my trad life all over the internet, I'm wearing costumes and I'm baking bread and I'm doing this stuff, it just screams this isn't real, but I'm doing this for likes, in the same way that you have like a girl that dresses up like a goth, you know, a goth mommy, or a whatever, like they play a character, they're presenting a character to the world through the internet, and it gets them, you know, likes and thumbs up and shares and such. So I get that's what I believe Sarah Stock was doing. I believe that's what Lauren Southern does. I believe that that's what Brittany Venti does. I think that that's what they all do, because they're perpetually online trying to shame other people for being perpetually online while downplaying their own perpetual onlineness. And if you are perpetually online, just submit it. It's okay. But like, don't try to pretend to be something you're not. And that's where like all the infighting, especially amongst these women, comes from. And I don't think it really matters how they brand themselves, because, you know, it is as they say, you by their seeds, by their fruits you shall know them, right? So it's what they're doing that shows who they are. And Pearl was correct on this, and this is why she got the most hate of all, which is, I find it weird that people say she's a grifter when she's literally doing the least popular things. Like, yeah, Pearl's the only person with the platform she had that gave a platform to Allison, to Karen, to Paul Elam, to Janice Fiamengo, to Tom Golden. You know, she did that. None of these other people who claim to like care about men and have massive platforms have done that yet. None of them. Pearl has. So like, I gotta get Mike Buchanan. She spoke to him, right? So that means that I'm not saying she's good at what she does, because she has her failings, but I don't think she's ill-intentioned. And I think, like Allison said, she is taking necessary risks, exposing, you know, this behavior online on an emotional level to get men to see it. And the truth is that more and more men are seeing it. And Sarah Stock, we're going to get back to her, did no favors to herself or this whole thing. So Sarah Stock, while you guys are letting all what I said sink in. So Sarah Stock, I haven't really followed. I don't pay attention to those people that much, but it came out at like a recent CPAC that she was caught or something like in an affair with Elijah Schaffer. Elijah Schaffer is the guy who ran that YouTube channel called Slightly Offensive, and he has been like a bit definitely more on the Groyper side of things politically. And apparently they had a thing together for a while, and this was all going on while she was engaged to the guy that, you know, that she claimed she got the ring from. The man who gave her this ring was cheating on him.
She was cheating on him
with Elijah Schaffer, and Elijah Schaffer was cheating on his wife, to be fair. So they were both doing this really stupid thing. And let me look at I got a timeline here of events here, because this is like a lot. So, all right.
Just read it out.
Yeah.
Lay it
so
on
the drama between Elijah Schaffer, far-right podcaster, Rift TV CEO, and vocal advocate for traditional family values, and Sarah Stock, conservative Catholic influencer, supposedly, with former our Rift TV contributor, exploded in early February of this year. So basically, like in the last couple of days. It centers on allegations of a months-long, this is from February of last year, so like a year, almost a year, close to a year, extramarital affair between the two, which surfaced amid Schaffer's divorce from his wife, Kezia. Key points from the reports and leaks. Milo Yiannopoulos, so Milo's the Yiannopoulos, who is the guy who broke the story on this, posted threads and audio recordings claiming the affair began in February of 2025 at CPAC, lasted about 6 months, involved heavy drinking and some drugs, pregnancy scares, and at least one alleged abortion. Stock allegedly worked for Schaffer at Rift TV. Leaked audio purportedly features Stock describing the relationship and expressing guilt/regret while deflecting blame towards intoxication and pressure from Schaffer. So she got caught, and then in like some recordings, I have them here. This is the thing that really pissed me off, actually. I'm going to see if I can find this here. I think it's there's a video of Milo shared in the video. I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
Here it is. Stock's husband has met Schaffer many times, but did not know about their sexual relationship when he proposed. Here's the Milo thing. In this recording, Stock can be heard admitting to the affair, adding that she does not plan to tell her husband about it. So I know this is really bad audio. It might be.
Maybe turn it up a bit.
No, I can't. I got it maxed out, but I can read the transcript of it.
Yeah, just read the transcript. But don't use your squeaky voice.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to talk normal. So this is what she said, okay? And this is why I think this is crazy right here. So we have two people. They engage in an extramarital affair. Okay, that's straightforward, messed up, but it happens, okay? And I condemn that, obviously, as behavior goes. It's terrible. But when she's caught, her side of the story, since she's like allowed to like spill her guts on this, I think gets a lot darker. So she says, but it obviously was my fault too, what happened between us. So she's like, oh yeah, I'm like at fault to some degree here. But even that was like, not like, I don't know. I felt like it was like, so she's very like talking really weird. Like, he got me very intoxicated. Like, I don't even like remember most of it. And I was even like thinking back because it was like at CPAC, the 2 nights.
Okay.
And he's like, right. And then somebody else, she says, and the second night I was breaking out in a rash. And so he's like, oh, get some Benadryl. It'll help with the rash. And now I'm thinking back, and it's like, that's probably why I blacked out, because he like intentionally gave me Benadryl and he like sent me a bunch of shots and stuff. And it's like stupid on my part to go along with that, you know? So
okay, wait. Can I just get clarification?
Yeah.
All right. How long was this relationship? Months?
It was like 6 months. Yeah.
6 months. And it started at CPAC. Okay, I see.
February of last year.
I see what she's. Okay, friends. No, she's probably going to be. This is going to get deeper. This is going to get deeper, and this is a little bit disturbing. She's probably going to frame this as the beginning of a Stockholm-like relationship, where he sexually violated her at CPAC. And I can see the movement of what she's saying here too. She starts with, oh, he's like, get some Benadryl. It'll help with the rash. And then he moves to, because he like intentionally gave me Benadryl. Okay, so he told you to get some Benadryl to help with your rash, and then it suddenly becomes he intentionally gave me Benadryl. You see what that's
Yes.
happening? The
No,
threat
I
narrative
know.
is being
Yes.
spun.
No,
The
this is
threat narrative is being spun.
absolutely being, and this was like a private conversation between her and this other guy that was actually leaked afterwards. So, in the recording, the other guy is so simpy, man, so simpy. He's just like, oh yeah, totally get it. Oh, that's really messed up that happened to you. I'm so sorry. Like, I'm just like, dude, she could be lying through her teeth right now. Just about, oh, he did this to me, even though we're doing this for 6 months, and I'm really upset that I got caught. You know,
Jail Ball says that's grape if true. It's grape if she took Benadryl and then she took
alcohol, like
alcohol
shots.
and shots.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the thing is that this is now a he said, she said, and the timing is extremely suspicious of this allegation. Like the relationship is found out, the cheating is found out. This is exactly when the allegations start. This is exactly when the allegations start. And now there's no way to determine what happened. It's a he said, she
It's her
said.
word against his.
Her word against his.
Yes. And her word will trump his. That's what I'm saying. When I saw this, I was like, this is tremendously irresponsible, but consequence free for her. She can just say this stuff. And this is why I zeroed in on this particular bit of drama, because I see a very dangerous threat narrative being created. Like right when she said, oh, he gave me something for my allergies, for my rash, and I blacked out. I don't remember. I guess something happened. Oh no. And this is like 6 months into a, like a sexual relationship. And when I think about and look, I know this is anecdotal, but I think about all of the times that I've interviewed falsely accused military personnel, and many of the stories I've seen on college campuses, like, Brock Turner, for example, of people getting, girls basically getting wasted or just not getting wasted, doing drugs or just sleeping with men, and they're cheating on their boyfriends or they're cheating on their husbands, which in the military happens a lot. Like military guys, they go to shore leave or something. They come, they're overseas and there are women there, and they're basically there to pick up military dudes. And those women are often married or in serious commitment relationships. And when they think they're going to get caught, what do they do? Well, either I get caught and I lose my husband or I lose my boyfriend, or I can say that guy raped me. And that's what they do. Like almost every story that I have had, every anecdote where I've had a guy in the military who got completely screwed over and went to jail or lost, dishonorably discharged, put on a sex offender registry. Almost every one of those involves a woman who was disloyal, got caught, and basically said, I'm going to make him the perpetrator and myself the victim. And not only will I not lose my marriage, but I'll also be like basically treated better by extension because I've done this. And so I see this happening right here. This is like, I see that. Like, that's what it looks like to me. Again, we don't, like, I don't know what's going to happen because from what I understand, both Sarah Stock and Elijah Schaffer have basically like disappeared from the internet for now. Milo told Elijah to go, take a break and get some help, some like rehab or something. But yeah, Sarah Stock, just out of embarrassment, from what I understand, just like left the internet. And but I mean, like, if this victimhood story goes through, though, she'll be back. Because then she's going to come back, not just come back, she'll come back with fanfare. They'll throw parades for her because she exposed, like, or she might come back and be like a feminist all of a sudden, come back as a feminist hero for exposing the far right and their rapey ways, in the same way that Lauren Southern did when she made her big expose video exposing the men's rights movement and provided no receipts, just made a bunch of claims and just threw the whole MRM under the bus. And all of a sudden now, she's got her own little parades as well. So this is why I stuck to this now. And I will say also that, yeah, I mean, like, women are the same everywhere. So don't like the whole like if there's a woman online and she's like in her late 20s or 30s and she claims to be trad, she's probably not, so just stay away from them. I'm just saying, like, that's another thing to look out for. So the story is basically that. I mean, Milo said he said, I'm in touch with Elijah. I told him to get off the internet for a couple of weeks and go back to rehab. It's better for everyone to just rip the Band-Aid off, so I'll share with you over the next few hours the info during the rounds in private. I'm not going to go into that stuff. I just wanted to show you all what had happened. So the Pearl did a victory lap on her channel because she called it. She said, Sarah Stock is fake. She's using men to like uphold a brand to grow on social media because social media is what for women? It's Call of Duty. So she was using it to raise her platform and it worked. And then like now that she's caught, she left, but she'll probably come back. So this is what I think that I took from it is like specifically this suggestion of a the implication she's making, and she's very careful not to like overtly make say an accusation because then she'd have to prove it. But if she just implies something, then she has enough plausible deniability that she can back off of it if it starts to look too sketchy. But no one can say that she actually said that. She's just allowing people to come to their own conclusions by saying, hey, I took Benadryl and I was drinking and I blacked out and I don't know what happened. I guess we had sex. I don't know. And then people, because they buy in this feminist narrative of like, if the woman is drunk, it's rape. So like, they're just going to go along with it. So this is like the thing that she's doing.
Yeah, and then somehow 6 months of effective cheating disappears. And the thing is that if you allow this entire sequence of events to be true in the way that it looks like she might be, testing the waters to make it so, then you can't accept women as actors. You can't accept the fact that they can sign contracts or take credit or get jobs. Because I'm going to tell you why. All right, let's assume, for the sake of argument, that there was some, shady, coercive things going on by Elijah, and that he did engage in this in CPAC. Is she not responsible for the next 6 months of staying with him? If this unpleasant experience, she does not seem to have any responsibility to inform people of it when it happens, when the police could do something about it. I mean, probably still can, but it would be in a situation where she's not going to be protecting other women or men or whoever Elijah's going after, right? She didn't do that, right? She just sat on it. She continued to have a relationship with him, okay? If a woman can't know her own mind enough to recognize criminal behavior and be responsible for continuing to engage with this person on a sexual level in the context of hurting another person, because this isn't just her having a 6-month fling with this guy. She was obviously in a very serious relationship with the man who eventually proposed to her, who apparently thought she was a virgin. This one detail that I heard, and
she claimed to be when she was on the whatever podcast, but according to the timing of that, it was impossible that she would have been a virgin. She was just, that's what I'm saying. She's lying about who she is for clout. She's not trad at all.
Let me just finish my statement.
By their fruits you shall know them. Go ahead.
Okay. Like she is in this relationship, this serious relationship that's moving towards marriage, while she's having this torrid affair with this other man who she alleges started with some kind of sexual impropriety at CPAC, and she has no sense of responsibility. Like, yes, is this what she's presenting? If people are going to allow her to present this as a plausible narrative, they have to have a particular attitude about the women's brains, that they are frail, incapable, and irresponsible. Because if she is having this negative sexual experience at CPAC and it results in a 6-month torrid affair while she is in a relationship, a serious relationship with another man, she has no sense of responsibility. At the very least, at some point, she should have recognized, if it really did happen as a result of some kind of sexual trauma, she is hurting another person by continuing to engage with this man who allegedly did this traumatic thing to her. Does she have no responsibility to the man who's supposedly in love with her and she's going to marry? No sense of responsibility to anybody else she could protect from this predatory man, alleged predatory man, allowing that her story is true. Like, you're essentially, to allow this as an acceptable behavior, you are accepting that women do not operate at the level of an adult man. They don't even operate at the level of a 12-year-old child, right? Because people wouldn't allow a child to say, well, blah, blah, this happened to me. That's why I had to be mean to Susie for 6 months. This is why I had to continue to steal from. You're still responsible for your unethical behavior. Like, that's really unfortunate that what he did in CPAC, that doesn't excuse, if it is indeed true, that does not excuse you cheating on your husband, on your fiance, or on the man who would become your fiance. That doesn't excuse it. And in fact, it makes it incredibly confusing. Like, why would you continue to be in a relationship with a man, okay, who put you through some kind of sexual trauma when you're in a relationship, a serious relationship with another man? You have no sense of responsibility to that betrayal of the other man. None whatsoever. Again, it makes women's brains out to be not even human, just cockroach level of stimulus response. And it's disgusting. People who will excuse this woman on these grounds are disgusting. Their thoughts about women are disgusting, because you are not allowing her an advanced cognitive behavior, advanced morality, and holding her to the standard of ethics and morality. You don't fucking do that. You especially don't do that as a result of some dude being traumatic towards you. Like, good Lord, like, she couldn't say no? She couldn't say no, knowing that another person, a man, was being harmed. A man was being harmed.
Well, not just a man, like the man that she's supposed to commit herself to.
Imagine if a man was in that situation. Okay, so imagine it was Elijah, right? Oh, she fed me Benadryl. Oh, she told me to get a Benadryl for a rash. That meant she forced it on me. And then she got me drunk. And then she straddled me and had her way with me. And that's why I couldn't leave her for 6 months. And that's why I had to hurt my female fiance. Nobody would buy it. And that's the gap I'm talking about. That is the gap. It is insulting. It is disgusting. It is wrong to have this gap in our expectations of responsibility. She has responsibility to her husband. She has responsibility to his feelings. She has responsibility to her faith, if she has it. She has responsibility to her ethical structure. And that does not change because something happened at CPAC. He told me that Benadryl would help this rash, which means he gave it to me. He shoved it down my throat. One does not follow from the other. And also, being excused for your unethical behavior does not follow from the allegation either.
There's another layer to this that has to also be considered, because this has also been coming up a lot. And again, these people are using feminist ways of knowing to decide on the guilt or innocence of the people involved. Even if they claim to be conservative, they are applying a feminist lens to their ideas, which is inherently the opposite of that. And I'll give you another example, because it's not just the fact that he offered her Benadryl according to her testimony, which again, we don't even know if any of that's true, and that it supposedly made her black out and she didn't know what happened after that. She just knew that suddenly 6 months went by and she got pregnant at some point, apparently had to get an abortion, even though she was really against abortion. But anyway, but not just that, but also there was a power dynamic at play as well, because Elijah Schaffer was her boss. And this is another element that's being talked about. Like, well, he was in a position of authority over her. This is what feminists describe as what, another form of sexual assault, right? It's like if your boss is like making moves on you, then that's basically just untoward. Even though, and the weird thing about this is that women are often drawn to men who have power over them. But anyway, that this is like another element of that, So it's not just he gave me Benadryl, but it's also he had authority over me, like in a business relationship, and I just can't separate these things. So this is what I'm saying. Like, do you see like why this is an interesting case study of like the things we talk about and how these people just like the replies to Pearl's original comment about the ring were all against her because Pearl had a black ex-boyfriend, and you had all these like Groyper types in the chat calling her all kinds of names because they think that Sarah Stock won, even though all those posts aged like fucking milk. They're all shit now because guess what? It doesn't matter what color the woman is. It doesn't matter what color the man is. The problem is the way that women act and what we allow, what we permit, what we like put up with, no matter what color they are, no matter what they stand for, no matter what they wear around their neck, whether it's a fucking dream catcher or a cross. If we aren't treating women like adults, we're going to get the same shit. So yeah, good luck with that. And of course, the Wignats, they don't know how to they don't have an answer to that question. I've been talking to them about it forever, and they're still like, please don't go after the women. It's the brown people. It's like, no, it's your women. It's your women. Sorry. If you don't do something about your women, none of this other shit matters. You're just going to be extinct. So you got to think about that. But yeah, they're not ready because they're too afraid. Everyone's really afraid to touch this. I know Brett Weinstein and his wife, Heather Haying, they've just started to be like, okay, so there's something going on with women, but they're being so careful. It's like they're walking in a minefield, and they're trying not to explode. And so they're talking about this now, which we'll be doing for 10 years. And they're like, okay, how do I do this without destroying my career? Everything that I've built. Well, guess what? You're just going to have to blow it up. You're just going to have to blow it up.
13 years for Honey Badger Radio.
Yep.
About 12 years for me, Brian on Honey Badger Radio, I think. And 23 years for me on the internet talking about this stuff and analyzing it. And yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's not the brown people, it's women. And if you do not the problem is everything. It's
also not the white people. It's just women. Like it's the women. No, I'm serious. It's the woman question. It's always been the woman question. It's not the Jews. It's not the Muslims. It's not the Latinos. It's not the Negroes. It's not the porch monkeys, whatever. It's none of those. It's just the women, guys. Just like drill down and be like, wait a minute. Why are our birth rates in the toilet? Is it because of immigrants? Is it because of the poors? Is it because of the Jews? Is it because of the elites? Is it because of porn? No, wait. None of those things produce children. Men and women do. Yeah. Maybe one of those things is missing. Well, let's look. Oh, well, men, they all want kids. I've looked at the data. All of them want kids. They want to be married. They want a family. Huh. Well, I guess that's it then. Somehow men aren't doing enough. Like they're just, we're not going to look over here. Can't do that. No. Whoa. What are you trying to do? Lose your job? They say, what, if you want to learn who rules over you,
you can't criticize.
Like, yeah, look at who you are not allowed to criticize.
Yeah.
And of course, women will be online saying they get criticized all the time, but it's just,
it's not enough.
But you don't change your behavior. So
yeah, exactly. It's not sufficient. Apparently.
Yeah.
It's just not sufficient. And this goes everywhere. Like I on the main channel, I put up a analysis of the silver market because that is where a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, in about 2020, I said that not addressing men's issues and doing what we are doing to men is going to cause the system to start to collapse. And interestingly enough, I believe that the silver market is where it's starting. And if I could just have your moment, just a squirrel. Let me squirrel. I got a squirrel. All right. So what I'm seeing is the financialization of a commodity, which means that people start thinking that distributing the commodity is what creates the prosperity and the wealth, and they stop caring about the men who are making it. And when they stop caring about the men who are making it, they start pushing down on them and creating destructive situations that these men can't navigate, which ends up destroying their ability to make the very commodity that is supposed to be marketed by these financial regulators. And that's what's happening. And that is an expression of this kind of blue stocking femininity, because that kind of femininity denies men's right to their male moral frame, which is about consequences in the physical world. It's about systems. It's about boundaries and policing, right? And when you do that, you look away from what's productive and what is foundational to that productivity, and you start to get into this magical thinking about financialization creating productivity. And it's just really like, this is deep. And I know that I'm only giving you a really brief overview, but our inability to say to women no means that they have brought this attitude, this kind of magical thinking, this suspicion of oversight and boundaries, and this overemphasis on trying to protect the vulnerable everywhere. And Helen Andrews is starting to bring this out more in academia, but it's everywhere. Academia exported it into the financial industry. It exported it into government. It exported it into NGOs.
Law.
Yeah, law. It exported it everywhere, this kind of thinking, and everywhere. It exported it into the publishing industry. And everywhere, it's actually grinding down and destroying the structures that allow our society to function and allow it to be productive. And that's big. So yes, we absolutely need to be able to call out women. And we, on an individual level, but we also have to recognize that as a group, women bring certain attitudes to the workforce. And those attitudes are corrosive to academia. They're corrosive to the commodities market. They are corrosive to business and government and law and publishing. They're corrosive. And we can't recognize that. And honestly, what the solution to this is, I don't know. I think it probably will involve expecting women to take responsibility for themselves individually and their instincts to do things that are destructive and damaging, right? And to do it out of a desire to feel self-righteous over men, because that's the real thing. What they're exporting is this feeling that women's ways of knowing are far superior to men's, crass cynicism and thinking that you can't have your cake and eat it too, and magical thinking doesn't work. That's part of it. It's a huge part of it. And it's something that women seem to be drawn to. So yeah, there needs to be some kind of oversight that tells women to shut up and occasionally submit. And submit sometimes and listen to men. I wonder what that could have been, But it comes down to the emotional ability to hold women accountable, to hold them accountable on an individual level and a systemic level, because men have been held accountable on a systemic level since the Epic of Gilgamesh, and probably well before, because that's a written down version of some auditory, like some language, some narrative, oral tradition. Okay, so the Epic of Gilgamesh was likely many, many, many millennia older than when it was written down, like in cuneiform, right? So that is something that represents our desire to make sure men take responsibility for their systemic effects of their in their nature. And where is our Epic of Gilgamesh? Like, we need an Epic of Gilgamesh so that women know that they also have to take responsibility for themselves on a systemic level and an individual level. All right, let's keep going.
Like the last thing I'll say about this is that, well, the one person that we haven't checked in on because we can't, is the actual like husband of Sarah Stock, who is learning all this through the internet.
Oh, good Lord, the worst way possible.
Yeah, probably the worst way possible. And look, man, my heart goes out to you. I think it's absolutely, it's probably like just devastating, just devastating. But I hope that you will learn something from it. because it's not. And another thing that I've seen too is that there's a lot of like, you know, people that were for a long time, a lot of these like old like online boomers that would be like, just go to church and meet a nice girl at church. No. Not like that. And a lot of like Zoomer guys have been saying this. Jonathan, his name is Jonathan Doyle, not your husband, another guy with the same name who makes content on YouTube, who's a young guy, and he's like, yeah, it's the church is not there. That's not really a guarantee, and some others as well. So like, you're just gonna have to learn how to vet women, and yeah, you know what you're gonna have to do is maybe take some lessons from the manosphere and some red pill guys.
Men's rights
maybe they know
activists.
something, you know.
Men's rights activists take some lessons.
That's what I'm saying. The manosphere, which
yeah,
includes men's rights activists.
I think we should probably separate ourselves out from. Not because I have a problem with the manosphere, but because I think our analysis vector is a bit different.
Okay, well, yeah, sure. MRAs then.
Yes. No. Always consult your local MRA. Before taking any kind of creating any kind of contractual activity with a woman. All right. Yeah, I feel for this guy too. Like, this has got to be the absolute worst and most disgusting way for a person to learn about this. At humiliation plus betrayal plus a loss of presumably a relationship that he valued enough to put a ring on it. What a freaking goblin this woman is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep. So, shall we move on to the next topic now that we wrung this one out?
Well, since we're on, yeah. So basically, I said everything I wanted to say about the Pearl thing. Not Pearl, but the Sarah Stock, Elijah Schaffer thing. You know, just don't keep it in your pants, guys. It's not going to work out for you. It's not. It's like, I'm sorry. There's no pussy good enough for all that heartache. And you married someone, you should have just stuck with her. I don't know what's going on with Elijah's. I know his wife left him, but I think that was before this happened. So that might be like another story, or at least that's what the timeline suggests. I could be wrong. But okay, anyway. So now we're going to look at something that started a while ago. Pearl Davis, again, she did a debate on this debate show. I don't remember what it's called. World War Debate, I think. It's a little bit cringe, but the debate didn't go well for Pearl, but I think that that's more about the fact that Pearl she's not really a debate person. So let me just put that on the screen. And I will find the time code. So did you want me to get that one section or look at the opening statements or what? What do you want me to do?
We can look at the open. How would you like to structure this? Do you think it's valuable to look at the opening statements?
I guess we could start with that just to get an idea of like what their arguments are. I mean, it shouldn't take too long. So,
okay.
World War Debate.
Let's do that.
Okay. All right, let me see.
We try to let the other person answer. I'll try to jump in as I can, but
not have the right.
All right, here we go.
On Tim Pool's Culture War podcast, my opponent, Pearl Davis, declared that women aren't really doing much. We're not having kids. We're not really contributing to the economy when you look at output. In fact, she uses this ridiculous assertion to argue that women should not have the right to vote. It's true, the birth rate.
I saw somebody in the audience was like, "Woo!"
has declined, and we'll revisit that in a bit. Women account for 47% of the American workforce. The Council of Economic Advisors found that women have contributed a substantial portion of the U.S. economic growth since 1970, which wouldn't have been made possible without the feminist movement.
Oh, I can kill this.
Women were responsible.
Yeah, she's just throwing a bunch of stats and data out there, and I'll let this finish because I think there is something like that you can learn from this, because if you're going to do a debate with somebody, you have to assume that they're going to be prepared with this kind of stuff, and they're not going to go in like some pink-haired, whack job that's just going to yell misogyny at you. Like Anna Kasparian does her homework, but I think that you can still Like there's still definitely places that you can like, chip away at these arguments because they're not as strong as she thinks they are. But okay, let's keep going.
For nearly 40% of total gross domestic product, amounting to a whopping $7.6 trillion. Of course, that figure doesn't include the trillions of dollars in unpaid labor women do every year, tending to the household, raising children, and caring for ailing parents. And when it comes to certain sectors of our economy, women are a dominant and indispensable force. Like in the healthcare industry, where they make up nearly 80% of workers, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That's 16.4 million women. When it comes to education, in 1960, women earned less than 35% of all bachelor's degrees. Today, they earn roughly 58% of all bachelor's degrees, which Pearl herself benefited from after graduating from Elmhurst University. Women also earn over 60% of master's degrees. I hope to hear Pearl explain how a more educated and skilled population somehow translates to cultural decline, especially as we compete with China in this increasingly
Excuse me.
Oh my fucking God, lady. Oh my. Is she done yet? Or do we have to listen to more of this dribble?
No, I think she's about done with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can I respond or do we go to?
Oh, go ahead. You wanted to respond to her and then
let her finish. Let her finish.
Okay. These are opening statements. They're like 2 minutes or something.
The modern feminist movement also had a major impact on decreasing domestic violence, and that's according to the U.S. Department of Justice. Rates of intimate partner violence decreased by more than 60% from 1994 to 2010.
What?
And that's thanks to protective order statutes and funding for shelters beginning in the 1970s and 80s. Not only did the two-income household be...
What?
All right. How much more of this? Okay. Can I just, this is different. All right. So we're going to discuss feminists' influence on domestic violence, right? But first, I want to discuss women's influence on the economy. Because what did she say? She said that, competition with China. Let's just take one element of competition with China that I have actually been investigating for 2 months. Oh, God. This is great. This hit my freaking bingo card. All right. I'll just take
You activated Allison's trap card.
I'll take one commodities market. And yes, it will be silver. It's going to be silver for a while. But the truth is that this behavior is in all commodities. What has happened since the 2008 crisis is that there has been a distinct shift in how the financial sector, specifically, I'm going to zero in on commodities, talks about its behavior. Right now, what happened during the subprime crisis? Well, what happened prior to it is with a whole bunch of banks started lending to people who didn't have the collateral and the income in order to pay back their loans. And the justification for this was that it was social justice. The system had been discriminating against these people because they weren't being given the right to have a mortgage, even though their income was not reliable and the collateral wasn't sufficient. But what was really happening in the financial plumbing behind those messages was that banks had developed these sets of derivatives or these financial instruments to abstract risk off their balance sheet. So they weren't actually going to take it on the chin if these people defaulted. And in fact, the government made a bunch of guarantees to backstop all of this. So when the inevitable happened, the government bailed out the banks. They were backstopped. All of the people that were supposedly being helped ended up with foreclosure and destroyed credit ratings. And the banks just, they capitalized their gains, socialized their losses. And all of this was cloaked in this rhetoric of social justice, which came right out of feminism, right? That is the vector that brought it into the financial system. Okay. So this feminism has become not just a excuse for doing this kind of financial chicanery, it's also become a shield for it. And that contagion ended up sitting in the silver market and likely all the other commodities market, right? So what ended up happening is they started using all of this financialization and financial instruments, and over time, the excuses that, oh, this is warm and fuzzy. This is the new banking. This is the inclusive banking. We're bringing women into HR. We're bringing women into the risk assessment. We're bringing women into the law around these commodities markets. And that we're advancing. But what's actually happened is the very cultural climate, the corporate cultural climate around commodities went from a business model that served the men making the metal and the other commodities to a business model that served the financial abstractions off of those commodities. And what ended up happening is, in order to preserve those financial complexes, those gigantic complexes, they had to start sacrificing. They had to start sacrificing the infrastructure of these commodities, the production, the refining, the mining. Everything started being sacrificed because they refocused on the financialization, and they refocused on the financialization, the idea of the distribution of goods, creating the prosperity, directly ties to financialization. It's about creating prosperity through distribution. It's the same attitude, the same mentality that underlies communism, socialism, Keynesianism. Somehow, the distribution is what creates, and that is a very female attitude. It's the idea that you don't understand where things come from. You don't understand, bread comes from a grocery store. Eggs come from a grocery store. Milk comes from a grocery store. That kind of attitude, you don't understand that there is a layer underneath the distribution where the things are being produced. That attitude comes out in financialization. It comes out in communism. It comes out in socialism, Keynesianism. All of these things are the same thing. It's this belief that distributing goods makes the goods. And this denial that there's anything else going on. I remember way back when, this must have been 2013. There was this meme going around. I don't know if you guys remembered it. It was the ice cream meme. Do you remember that ice cream meme, Brian?
No.
Okay,
I wasn't really. I don't think I was on the internet much in 2013. Sorry.
I'll just describe the ice cream meme. It was a machine that delivered scoops of ice cream, right? And it was the social justice crowd, and it was a simpler time. So it was just men versus women very clearly at that point. So they had this man with an ice cream cone underneath the ice cream machine, and it was just delivering scoops of ice cream. And he put his ice cream cone and the machine delivered 3 scoops, and then he ate it. And then a woman comes up and she puts her ice cream cone under, and she gets a single scoop. And then the male character just starts crying and getting angry and pissed off. And this was shared everywhere because it was like, now that women have their turn, men are so upset. Oh, look how upset men are. And I looked at this meme, and my response was, who's making the ice cream?
Yeah.
Complete meltdown, because they didn't even conceive of that. Who is making the ice cream? That is the attitude behind financialization, behind communism, behind socialism, behind Keynesianism, behind modern monetary theory. It's the idea that the distribution creates the resource, and that's all you have to care about. And this has infested every single financial institution, which has led to a destruction of the layer that makes everything in the Americas and in the West generally. So, Anna Kasparian, I have all of the receipts on why women have destroyed productivity in the West. All of them. Exactly why. And I will be laying them all out. And you are 100% wrong. You are simply thinking in the noosphere that distribution creates product. Like things come out of distribution. Things come from grocery stores. They don't come
Right.
from farms.
Isn't it in the back?
Yeah, isn't it in the back? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that what she's listing is these aren't necessarily the achievements of women. These are the achievements of this society in allowing women to be able to move in different places where they weren't able to, because the constraints were so hard. Infrastructure, safe places, like you can move around the city. That wasn't always the case in previous eras. So all of that is pinned on men. Like, she doesn't even address that. Oh, nurses or whatever, not men. Well, what about their infrastructure, policing? What about prisons, making sure prisons are kept up? What about all of that? The stuff that nursing relies on. What about all of that? All of the product, all of the commodities and their production that everything else relies on. That's almost 100% men. And if you just look at who's being sacrificed to maintain that stuff, it's almost entirely men. So, and she doesn't address that at all. If you don't maintain that layer, it doesn't matter how many female nurses you have or women with bachelor's degrees. It doesn't matter. How many women go to white collar jobs and write 5 emails a day. It doesn't matter, because if that productive layer implodes, we're done. And so go your jobs too. So the priority here should not be women getting degrees or avocado toast jobs or being nurses. The priority should always be making sure the men who make the metal, who deliver the electricity, who maintain the infrastructure, who protect everything, police and soldiers, who make the commodities, that these men get what they need to continue to produce what they do. That should be our priority. That should be our first priority. And she didn't even conceive of that. And also, let's get this down to brass tacks. Women don't pay more taxes than they take. The end. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So sure, let's
more financially resilient, especially.
Oh, well, you didn't touch on, she talked about how feminism, all of the good that feminism did for domestic violence.
Oh, that's just total bullshit.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't touch on that.
Okay,
I thought you might
simply feminism prioritizes interventions that have not been shown to reduce recidivism among male batterers, over interventions that teach these batterers feminism, which in some cases have led to even more violence. So feminism is sacrificing female victims of domestic violence to prefer its ideology, in preference to its ideology. So that's utter bullshit. There may have been some kind of correlation between the 90s and
she's saying that they opened shelters in the 70s. So
yeah, they opened shelters
when
in the
Aaron
70s.
Pitsey was around trying to say, hey, you know what? I think that this problem isn't just like a man problem. And then like they killed her dog. But anyway.
During economic downturn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there could be a lot of different correlations, like the rise of the internet, gaming, like general loss of all kinds of crime. Like between the 90s and now, there's been a general reduction in crime, at least up to the last, like the 2020s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm seeing the same pattern repeat over and over again when it comes to women. They take over an industry and they drive it into the ground. Like, I mean, they don't even have to take over an industry. They just have to establish themselves in choke points when it comes to hiring and risk assessment and legal risk. They just, and HR and PR, they just establish themselves in these choke points and they run an industry to the ground. And honestly, why would we expect anything else? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, women are universally terrible. But when you give them a complete get out of jail free card, and then you let them indulge their worst instincts, like women really, like when I talk about financialization with this whole idea that distribution creates wealth, which is exactly the same as communism and socialism, right? this is a very feminine way of thinking.
Mhm.
And they don't like, there's just this absolute problem with women in terms of recognizing that men have anything valuable to say. So they'll destroy the men who make the commodities simply because they just don't want to listen to them. Like, why is that such a problem with women? Right? I mean, I know that maybe I'm also like, I probably have that too. I have to learn to shut up. It's hard. But eventually you have to. Otherwise you learn nothing. Okay, let's keep listening
All right.
to
Women gain the ability to leave abusive relationships.
but men still don't have it.
With
What?
Men still don't have that ability.
Yeah.
improved child health and educational attainment. A culture that protects people from violence is not one that's indicative of cultural decline. Pearl herself has benefited greatly from the feminist movement, thanks to Title IX in 1972, signed by Nixon, of course. Sex-based discrimination in any school program.
Nixon, of course. You want to know what else Nixon did? Took us off the gold standard.
Mm.
It all
Well, she doesn't care
guys.
about that.
It all
affect her.
connects.
Yeah.
It all of it. I'm gonna show you my conspiracy board. No, not now.
Okay.
But someday I
is
will.
prohibited. Pearl herself had a rather impressive record playing for Elmhurst University's volleyball team, having earned all conference honors as a senior. She later pursued professional volleyball in London. She could have stayed in the United States and served in her role as a traditional woman, but she didn't. And she could have been the traditional chaste woman living out her dream of everything women were supposed to do before feminism.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess she could get Pearl on. She's in the public talking about these things as some kind of hypocrisy. They try to do that to me too, but I've never advanced any particular way of men and women living aside from recognizing reality.
Yeah.
And if you want to promote equality, actually knowing what the hell that means.
But she is neither traditional nor chaste by her own admission. While feminists would have no problem with her personal...
So I don't think Pearl's arguing for traditionalism. They're just arguing against feminism. But Anna thinks if you're criticizing feminism, then you must be then for some imagined, version of traditionalism that I have decided who represents a bunch of things that you don't live up to.
Choices, she has made a career bashing women for theirs. Critics often argue that modern feminism has weakened families and resulted in a lower birth rate. They tend to dismiss empirical evidence demonstrating the insidious impact of the internet, social media on modern relationships. They also brush economic instability under the rug, despite young people...
Where's the economic instability coming from? Literally, this whole concept of distribution creating wealth has constructed a gigantic complex, financialization complex, that is just on top of now a tiny production and manufacturing, I don't know how to demonstrate this, just gigantic on a tiny little prop of production and manufacturing now.
What you're saying is, I think what you're saying is, correct me if I'm wrong, but everything that we are currently trying to produce, and this is from not just physical products that we're making, although that counts too, but all of the things that are required to produce the things that we produce, including all of the, things that people need to work office jobs and everything else, is coming from a very small number of jobs. So you have the prerequisite, to start a company, you would need other companies as prerequisites for your company, right? So people producing metals and various raw materials and getting them from somewhere and all of that. And basically we're trying to draw a lot more out from very little, and we're not understanding that what we're drawing from in terms of like how big of an industry it is actually potentially too small to sustain all of this like additional stuff, which a lot of it can probably be cut away because you have a lot of made up jobs and stuff too, right? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like,
yes, well,
the
all the made up
prerequisite to
stuff.
build what we have is too small and it needs to be bigger, and we don't respect it. We don't even acknowledge it exists.
Yes.
Is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem. When you focus on distribution, when you make 9 jobs out of 10 in your society about distributing products, distributing commodities, and only 1 out of 10 making those products, making those commodities, establishing that infrastructure that's necessary, what do you think is going to happen eventually? You are going to run out of the things that allow people to work. You are going to run out of the things, of the raw material and the infrastructure that feeds the rest of the economy. Right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like the ziggurat. You have this gigantic complex of eunuchs shuffling around paper and harem girls justifying the stealing goods from the peasant workforce. And eventually something's going to break because it's so expensive to maintain and it has so little to draw from. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Finances as the main reason why they're holding off on marriage in the first place. In lieu of discussing those factors, Pearl spends much of her time discouraging men from getting married in the first place. During her debate with Trent Horn, she declared that men are better off shacking up without ever getting married. Her reasoning? Women are too fat and STD infected.
25%, that's a lot.
You did say that. She didn't stop to think.
What? 25% is a lot.
25? I thought it was 45.
No, 25%. That's 1 out of 4 if it's true. Which I don't doubt. I mean, again, like if you celebrate promiscuity, then you're going to get what that comes with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I'm not making like a value judgment on that, but if you're a man and you don't want an STD and you know that 1 in 4 women have STDs, you're probably going to avoid women, or you're going to be careful about the ones you get involved with. 25% of women that's a massive number.
About how they contracted the STDs in the first place. Data from the National Library of Medicine show that modern men are just as promiscuous as modern women.
Okay.
Yeah, but if women are 25% of women have an STD, and we know they're banging a very small percentage of men, blaming the very small percentage of men for being promiscuous when their promiscuity is rewarded, it's kind of silly because women also decide, yeah, I know we're dating the same guy, but I don't care, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I mean, it's really hard to blame men for that. Like as a group, for the small number of men who are capable of having rotating harems of
could
women.
literally be like 1% of men that has an STD and 25% of women who caught it from that 1%. Mm-hmm. That's not really an L for men. No. I'm just saying, No. So
yeah. So what does
women are
what?
Okay, did she just drivel on like this for?
No, that she just has like a bit of a long. You want me to just jump ahead, or do you want to hear the rest?
Okay,
of her?
well, no. How much longer does it go?
Let me see. So she is almost done.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just about done. This is the end of her thing.
In bad shape, and in the United States, we can discuss why, but feminism is not the reason.
Very good. Thank you. Nice job. Okay, Pearl, we got 5 minutes. You're going to be on the clock, and let's go.
That is. What was the title of this? That feminism is what?
It was just a debate on feminism.
That's it, but there wasn't like be it resolved. Feminism is.
No, it wasn't. It's not that formal. That's why I'm saying the debate was kind of it wasn't that professional. It wasn't like the Monk debates or Oxford or something like that. It was just like a couple of people. That's all. So.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Most debaters and commentators are elitists who tell average Americans from their ivory towers what to think and how to feel. My answer to this question not only comes from covering current events and researching the facts, data, and statistics, but also in my professional experience interviewing over 1,000 people in America and Western nations. Feminism has given women power, and power corrupts. And that's what's happening. Feminism is robbing men of their disposable income and their prime earning years. Feminism has empowered women. It has empowered women to be sexually promiscuous. Feminists say that they fought for women to not subject themselves to the approval of men. Why then are 5 to 10% of women between the ages of 18 to 25 on OnlyFans or other prostitution websites?
So 10% of women between 18 and 25 are on OnlyFans, according to this.
There are more online prostitutes.
Do you think a man, I mean, yes, there's a simp born every minute, but do you think like the men are drawn to those women, like that they want to be with those women? I think that men are becoming a lot more discerning.
In America than female Walmart employees. 1 of 3 women will catch an STD at some point in their lifetime. 90% will catch HPV, which is incurable. Feminism has empowered women to abort 1/8 of the world population and 1/3 of Gen Z. Feminists have been so empowered to commit paternity fraud. Paternity fraud is unpunished in any state in the USA or any country in the West. If done correctly, a man will have to pay for a child he was fooled into believing was his until that child reaches maturity. In some states, that man will also have to pay for that kid's college. That is slavery and is forbidden under the 13th Amendment. 1/3 of paternity tests are negative by the American Association of Blood Banks. Feminism has empowered women to rob.
Yep.
Okay, so
did you want to say anything about that?
this is a debate between two incompatible frames.
Mhm.
Anna Kasparian is not going to recognize anything but women's benefit as a judgment stick for anything. Like based on what she's saying, because what Anna is basically saying in her opening speech is the way we judge everything is by its benefit to women. Right?
Yeah.
And then Pearl is coming back with these are the problems that have been created by this form of benefiting women. I'm curious how Candace Kasparian is going to respond to that. But I suspect that she's going to respond in a way consistent with somebody who does not understand that we need to consider women's effect on society, like on the commodities market, on academia, on gaming. We need to consider women's effect on comics and publishing industry, right? And NGOs. And we need to consider women's effect on men, right? And then we need to recognize that not every single effect that women have is good. And this is what this is 100% what Pearl is arguing. She's arguing that we have to recognize that not everything that women do is good. Right? Anna is in the framework in which the only good that can be recognized is good done for women and by women. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
The only good she can recognize. So this is going to be a clash of completely incompatible frames. I am curious on how Anna responds to this. But also, I want to make sure that we don't overstay our welcome, shall we say, in terms of this as well. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll play some more Pearl's thing.
Yeah.
Rob men of their time, their resources, their reputation, their children, and in the most extreme cases, their lives. They do this through child support, alimony, false allegations, and paternity fraud. How many people in this arena have a brother, a father, an uncle, or a friend who has gone through this meat grinder? Anna has been on the air for 15 years and is completely oblivious to these issues.
Well, Anna? Oh, Anna corrected Pearl and said 20. Anna's corrected Pearl. That's all. Okay.
Well, that's essentially the most important thing.
Yeah, look at the smugness that she's got. Yeah, she's like, I'm a pro. I don't have my "I'm better than you" soundbite, but yeah, she's totally thinking that. But
genocide of the lives of millions of men. Standing on the sidelines of the arena, I have 33-year combat veteran Terrence Popp. He served through 3 wars and was almost killed in 2. He got married, had 2 children, and served in
shout out to Terrence Popp, who's at the debate.
The United States Army. Terrence Popp was deployed to Iraq in 2004, and as a member of the airborne infantry, he was wounded by a roadside bomb and suffered a TBI and a stroke from the blast. He was evacuated out of the country, and it took over 2 years until he had recovered. While he was recovering, his wife was plotting to divorce him. His wife murdered his 6-year-old chocolate lab out of spite because he filed for divorce first. When he confronted her, the response he got was, "I told you I did not want you living here." At this point, he was forced to leave the marital home and live out of his car. The divorce took away his home, his children, and left him penniless and saddled with a child support payment he could not afford. Terrence had to pay $144,000 over a 12-year period for a divorce that his wife was empowered by feminists to plan and execute. Terrence went into court to fight for 50-50 custody. Terrence was called a murderer and an assassin in open court and was given 96 hours a month with his children. 96 hours a month is not a father. While homeless, he spoke to many other men who would never get off the streets due to child support arrearages and penalties, and the men constantly getting arrested for unpaid child support. The disparage of losing his children and his home, and his PTSD and constant pain from his wounds, he became suicidal. While at his post in 2008, a former commander of his came to see him to secretly say his last goodbyes. The next day, Mr. Popp's former commander put on his dress blues and went to the Holy National Veterans Cemetery and blew his brains out. Terrence Popp was notified of the death and was shocked because he was planning to commit suicide in the exact same manner. So in effect, his former commander took the bullet that was meant for him. Terrence Popp decided he would not kill himself and has spent the last 20 years saving 576 men from suicide with comedy. If you look to the left of the stage, Terrence is holding the dog tags for every life that he has saved. Now, why am I telling you this? Shout out to Terrence. Yeah.
So, all right. So I got a super chow. Not a super chow. It's a super chat. I think it's a super chat from.
Oh yeah, guys, send in those super chats.
Lexi 9319, who gives us 150 NGNs. I'm sorry. I don't know what an NGN is. But he says, great show. Thank you. And it gives me like a shades, smiling with shades, smiley face. Thank you, Bud X Lexi. Appreciate that. Yeah, so here's the thing. Just to sort of like give you guys a general summary. We're going to look at more clips here, but Pearl is using anecdotes. She throws some data, but it's mostly like, here are some stories. I've spoken to this many people. And Anna is leaning into like hard, what she would consider to be hard statistics from this academic institution or this organization. And unfortunately, the audience overall overwhelmingly sided with Anna, as well as a lot of the people who responded to this online. And there were even points in the debate where Pearl didn't really make a counter argument. I don't know if it's because she wasn't prepared or whatever, but there is a challenge when you use anecdotes, because you can get anecdotes from anywhere. They tend to not be as convincing to people as data is. Now, you can call data into question. I think you should, because I don't tend to think that data is reliable. You know, there's that old saying, lies, damn lies, and statistics. And we already know that, you know, one of the things that we do on this channel is we go through sort of academic studies that reveal something, and we often find that it's just like bullshit, or it's like stuff that is citing other stuff that's citing other stuff, that, and it's all like this incestuous shithole of like bullshit studies, but they're, you know, peer reviewed and they're academically approved and they have all the right people that signed off on them. So we're just supposed to treat them like their data. So I think that the best thing to do is just employ logic. And if you don't have data, then you use logic. You can use logic in conjunction with anecdotes to say, like, why is this a problem? And that would be the way to approach it. But Pearl's not strong on the debate side of things. So I'm not saying she's wrong, but it's just not her. It's not her strength. What were you going to say, Allison?
I said she's a pundit. That's what they do. They use anecdotes to illustrate emotional principles, and to illustrate an emotional narrative. Terrence Popp is probably someone who touched her, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
In an emotional level. And so she's bringing in that argument, that kind of an argument that convinced her. And also it may just be like, you remember that argument that Cassie J and Warren Farrell would probably have very, very gently annihilated Anna Kasparian here, but they had this argument on a extremely bad faith argument venue.
Okay, I remember that. It was in Dr. Phil or something.
Yeah, it might have been Dr. Phil. And you could tell the moment that Warren Farrell realized that he's not going to get anything out, and like he was not going to get anywhere with this. And he simply spent the last few seconds, like tens of seconds that he had to basically tell everyone where they could find more information on their position. Remember that? It's like he just was like, this is what you do. This is where you go find this, and then cut. And it's because he realized there was nothing beneficial that was going to come out of the engagement. It may be that Pearl doesn't think anything beneficial is going to come out of her engagement with Anna. So her point in being there was to bring up Terrence and to bring up Terrence's work and his experience.
Yeah.
And then everything else after that was just the payment that she had to go through for that initial what she wanted to do. So so that might be what's happening here. And honestly, again, the thing is that the other complexity of this is they're working in two different frameworks. Pearl is working in a framework where women's actions can be bad and benefiting women can result in bad things. Anna is working in a framework where she only recognizes good flowing from women and only recognizes that good should flow to women and from women, and that's it. Right? So these are two different frameworks. Anna can bring whatever data that she wants, but it's likely that it's only going to exist within that particular framework and supporting that particular framework. So that's why I say it's like this is a debate between two incompatible frameworks. But let's so how much longer does Pearl go for?
I'm going to look at I have the transcript here. So all right, there's a little bit left.
Now, why am I telling you this? Because men and American veterans are put in this position because of the empowerment that feminists like Anna have pushed for. There are millions of men that have died in this country from the political power that feminism pushes. Since 1970, an estimated 1.6 million men have committed suicide.
Time. Stop it.
Wait, why didn't she get as much time?
Divorce and family court as
what?
Why is he calling time? It's hardly as much time as Anna got.
I don't know.
Hard as they are fighting for abortion, working, or becoming sex workers. Thank you.
All right, let's see.
What?
Let's see what Anna's response is, because again, I think it's the incompatible frameworks operating.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a heavy one. We're going to go now to the opening interrogations. We have 10 minutes. Do we have that on the clock? Yeah, it's fading in right there. Okay, and take it away. 10 minutes.
Oh, good Lord. 10 minutes of Anna?
Whoever wants to begin.
Aside from the specific anecdote that you shared, which of course is tragic, can you cite some actual studies that look at these statistics and back up what you say in regard to the outcomes of marriage and divorce in America?
Source? That's basically what she says.
Okay, what does Pearl come back with? Because
Let's see.
I can rattle that off the top of my head.
41% of 109 rape cases reported to police in a Midwestern city were admitted to be false by complainants.
In one Midwestern city? And which Midwestern city was that?
You know, you can go from your ivory tower and
I'm
tell
not in an
people what
ivory
to
tower.
think
I'm
and
on
how
this
to
debate
feel.
stage interrogating your assertions, and you've only provided an anecdote.
Well, no, she just provided an assertion. God, this is really like they're not going to get anywhere with this. And honestly, I wouldn't even provide the assertion. I would just nail Anna on, can we acknowledge that society also has a duty to men and that women also have a duty to men? Because if she doesn't enter the framework where these things are important, then there's no discussion to be had. Like it's like you just can't. She's just in another universe. And you're discussing the material realities of a universe that she can't even comprehend or acknowledge exists. But I mean, if you want data on all of the things that men face, I'm not going to list. I think everybody listening to me knows that I could rattle off 30, 40 minutes right here if I was on the stage of statistics and statistical analysis on the problems that are facing men, right? I could do that. But the real issue here is the person that I'm talking to has to recognize that the only judgment, the only legitimate, has to recognize that believing the only way, the legitimate way to judge reality or statistics or data or anecdotes or anything is not just, does it benefit women and does it flatter women? Like, and if you can't establish that, then where do you go from there? Might as well just walk off and be like, okay, well, we live in different worlds, Anna. Hopefully your world doesn't implode. You believe that we don't have to care about men. We don't have to consider their situation. We don't have to consider their needs. And by extension, what's really interesting about that behavior is that we don't have to consider what the industries that they generally are employed in that are majority male need as well. This is the funny thing. It doesn't just stop with what men need, domestic violence against men, sexual assault against men, all of these other issues that men face as men. I'm also finding out that industries that are majority male don't get a say in what they need to continue to exist. They don't get a say. They get silenced. So we are silencing the men who produce the commodities, men who produce the metal, the men who deliver electricity. We're silencing all of these industries that are majority male. We're treating them as like an infinite good that can never be expended. And if they do have any complaints, they're just toxic labor bros or something, right? So this is what I'm seeing. And if you think, Anna Kasparian, that is a framework that will continue to produce a prosperous society, I invite you to just live with the results of it. Because we are living through that now. We are living through the results of ignoring the men who make our world possible. We are living through it now. Hallelujah to us. Maybe that's the wrong thing to say.
Yeah.
So frameworks meet reality. Like when you have she has a framework. She has a framework of what is important and what isn't important and what can't even be spoken of. And these frameworks meet a reality, and the frameworks either work in that reality or they fail. And sometimes people just need to go through the failure condition. They just need to go through the pain before they realize that their framework does not work. And that's all I can say is that maybe only pain can redeem this kind of attitude. All right. By the way, guys, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Someone send us feed the badger. Someone send us a tip. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Do it. Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
look at the data, which I did, of course, you'll find that women are twice as likely to fall into poverty after divorce.
Right, because they can't
Alimony
stop
is paid
spending.
out in 10% of divorces. According to the Census Bureau, the average child support payment is $441 a month, and only
Yeah, that's to men who have like multiple babies and exist in poverty. And also women default more often. And the real thing is that men actually get hit worse after divorce initially, but they recover. Okay? And they recover because nobody's giving them handouts. Let's keep going.
Right, but how
of
much are
those
they
payments
making?
get paid out.
How much?
Women do not get child custody 90% of the time, as you have asserted before. In fact, 95% of custody cases are mutually agreed upon outside of the courtroom. Women get full custody 40% of the time.
Was it 95% of
Wait a
custody
second.
cases?
Wait a second. She's establishing the frame again. That's exactly what she's done. I even got sucked into it. So she's reestablishing that the only thing that matters is what happens to women. Okay, maybe these are problems that women face. Right? Maybe they are more poor after divorce. Shouldn't get divorced then. But, you know, maybe they have more post-divorce regrets. Presumably until they get married to a new guy. But whatever. Let's allow that. How does that negate what Pearl said? Can you explain that, Brian? It doesn't.
If an overwhelming majority of people basically just come to an agreement outside of court, maybe it's because the men don't want to pay for lawyers. Maybe they can't afford them.
Yeah, but
Maybe they're just
you know what
going
I'm
along.
saying?
Maybe they got legal advice and the lawyer said, "Dude, it's not worth it. She's gonna take everything. Just make an agreement with her. Work it out." Like
Yeah.
she's saying, because what she's implying by that study is that it's consensual and they both made an agreement and they're both happy with their decision. But I don't think that's how it goes. I think that again, it's anecdotal, but the guys I know that had gone through a divorce, they didn't go through the courts because they didn't want to pay even more fees on top of everything else. So they just said, okay, we're just going to like figure out how to split these things and I'll take care of you and I'll do this. And they just work out an agreement because they don't want to pay the additional costs of lawyers. And they know that it's not going to work out for them anyway. So they're just like throwing money into a hole because they're not going to get the kids. They're not going to get the house. They're not going to get, they might as well try to work it out. And then in a lot of those cases, the women go and lawyer up behind their backs anyways, because they know they will get more. They're like, well, I can get more if I lawyer up.
Okay.
Fuck him. So
But
I'm just saying like this, like she's making a claim that there is Pearl's just butting her nose into personal business. These people, they're figuring this out on their own. But no, Pearl, that's why she's not letting Pearl talk, because Pearl does know that it's not as simple as that, basically.
Well,
But
here's
anyway,
the
go
other
ahead.
thing. All right, okay. Here's another reframing. First of all, okay, so what? All right. Yeah, maybe women are worse off. Does that justify only looking at issues that face women? Does that justify saying that women are the only ones who have problems? Therefore, we don't need to look at the problems facing men. Because that's her framework. She's essentially saying this stuff as her framework. She's denying the divorce. But here's the other thing. When shared custody, which was a men's issues position, is adopted, not only do women divorce less, they are less stressed after in the case that they do divorce. And they are also financially better off. So this is a problem that has a solution, and that solution is to include men in the equation. So any kind of framework, feminist framework that excludes men also harms women. So, I mean, yeah, sure, Hannah, you can bring up, women are harmed by divorce, but I got a solution that includes men. And the only way that you can prevent this is by including men. So your framework is still wrong. You can bring up all the women's issues you want, or in this case, your framework is still wrong because it doesn't address them either.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Men do get full custody 20% of the time, and 40% of the time it's shared custody, which I think is the ideal situation, assuming that neither spouse is abusive.
I think the ideal situation is them staying together, but okay.
And Pearl, excuse me, before you respond, if you could take your microphone out and hold it, it would be easier to hear you.
Okay.
He's too tall.
Yeah, this is so what she said was that men get custody 20% of the time.
40%, I think, if they ask for it or if they fight for it, she's saying.
Yeah, that's
Well,
horrible.
Most of the time they don't fight for it because their lawyers tell them don't bother. Like they're not
Yeah,
going to
they
win.
don't. Well, but that's just that, and also that's a horrible statistic because the men who usually fight have reasons for doing so, for fighting for sole custody.
Yep.
Like that is not a fair comparison, because often when I looked at these studies that show that men are more likely to win custody, they indicate that this is in a situation where often social services have gone to the father and said, you got to get this kid out or your kid's going to die. Your ex-wife is going to kill the kid. And the father goes and he's fighting for custody in those circumstances. And when you understand that there's a high percentage of men, fathers who fight for sole custody in those circumstances, the fact that they win it only 50% of the time is terrifying. Terrifying. Right? And the women who fight for sole custody, because they compare the population of men who fight for sole custody to the population of women who fight for sole custody, the women who fight for sole custody are not usually fighting because the child's life is in danger. There is a non-insignificant minority of men who are fighting because the child's life is in danger, right? The women who are fighting for sole custody more often are fighting because they want to establish their property rights to the child.
Over the child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like this, it's a fundamentally different group of people, and to compare them is actually, it's completely false. It is a failure of academic ethics. Okay. Yeah,
All right.
Void Cat is concerned, or she wants my water.
Alimony and medical care and dental are not covered by that, so a lot of times it does go above 50%. Again, you can go through the facts, the data, and the statistics and manipulate them any way that you want.
It's not
But
manipulation.
there are
Those are the
1.6
stats.
million. There are 1.6 million men in this country. Men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide after a divorce.
Compared to women, what's the number for women?
It's lower.
Really? What is it?
9 times more, you fucking idiot.
So like a ninth of that, maybe?
Yeah.
Comparative analysis is real difficult for you, isn't it?
Okay.
Jesus fucking Christ. What a.
Go ahead, Pearl.
What's your next question?
You have asserted that men shouldn't get married, that instead they should
I didn't
shack
say
up.
that.
What a fucking idiot you are, Anna. Men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide. Do you have the relative percentage? 9 times. Dumbass.
That would have been a zinger right there, but Pearl didn't think to do that, so she ends up like I said, like optically it looks bad for Pearl.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure I picked that up instantly, didn't I?
yeah, you did. Yeah.
Trent
Oh,
Horn,
good Lord.
word for word, you said it makes more sense for them to shack up, live with a girlfriend instead of getting married. Do you think the advice that you give to men is the type of advice that will fulfill their lives? Because I'll tell you one
Okay, Anna. Shut up. Shut your pie hole. All right. The reason why she's giving that advice is because the legal system is stacked against men. Right? She's not giving it, she's giving it as self-defense advice. No, men are not necessarily going to be happy that way. I think my little black cat referee has decided that I have gotten incised enough for the day. But
It's
yeah,
all right. Go ahead.
like she's not saying this is an ideal circumstance. She's saying this is something that men need to do to protect themselves. And Anna's saying, "Oh, do you think that men are going to be happy?" Why are you bringing up men's happiness here? Do you even care about that? Right? Until the legal system is changed, and we have a model now of how it needs to change. Presumption of shared custody. It helps everybody. It helps the mother, it helps the father, it helps the children. The only people it doesn't help, you know, that meme of did you ask with Jesus?
Did you forget to ask someone, or is there someone you forgot to ask? Yeah.
Is there someone you forgot to ask? Yeah, the only people that the shared custody initiatives don't benefit are divorce lawyers and feminists. And of course, those two groups are lobbying to get rid of them. So we have a solution to all of this. It's shared custody laws. And I will grant the conservatives this. They recognized it. They stopped arguing that, divorce, why are men divorcing? And they started recognizing the actual situation in family law and fixed it. So I'll grant conservatives a point there. And that's the solution, right? The solution to men not having to do this risk assessment and take defensive action against women is shared custody. The end. And in fact, shared custody.
He's my rock. He's my
foundation. Oh, sorry, that was an accident. Why did it play so fast?
Yes, you love your husband because he's yours. He's your property. Right? Mm-hmm. That's why people could love their slaves, but hate escaped ones. Okay? He's your property. He's yours. That's why you love him. If you don't actually care about men as a whole, that's probably why you love your husband. Not because he's a man, but in spite of him being a man. Because you've broken him in. He's butt broken, yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
All right.
Anyway.
So she's basically saying, I actually like men more than you. This is what she's trying to establish. No, I know, but I'm just letting you know. But I did get a super chat from Joe Marks, 1929. Cool. Thank you, Joe Marks. He gives us $20 and includes like a dancing athletic pair saying thanks for being you. Thank you, Joe Marks. Appreciate it. Very strange, but
a dancing
very
athletic
cool.
pair.
A dancing athletic pair, yes.
A super chat or a super chat?
It's a super chat. It's a super chat.
Okay, thank you. That's very much appreciated. Dancing athletic pair. Okay. Right.
No,
I think that this is
number one.
I think this is going to be something that requires a twofer.
Yes, well, I told you that, Allison. I told you this is a lot, but I think it's a good debate to go through.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You want to hear the rest of this bit, and then we'll just go. We'll do another show on this next week or something. Okay.
Yeah, sure. We'll do a follow up.
But you know what my career did? When I met my husband, my career was already established. He, on the other hand, was couch surfing. He was in debt and didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. I married him anyway. You want to know why? Because I had the economics to marry for love, not for some
that's not all women
to take care of me.
How tall is?
So what? Like that's not all women.
Wait, Pearl's response is great though. Listen.
I married him anyway. You want to know why? Because I had the economic freedom to marry for love, not for some Chad to take care of me.
How tall is he?
Oh, he's 6'1", about your height.
Oh, she threw shade at her too. So Pearl basically boiled it down for, you didn't marry him for love.
Married him for height. Yeah.
It's funny. Like this is Anna Kasparian kind of falling back on the romantic model of relationships as a default. So how we talk about gynocentrism as it is essentially the romanticization of marriage and relationships, which is basically an extension of like courtly love that goes back to like the medieval period. And she's using that as the standard by which like she can measure things. Like basically, if you marry for love, it's the only reason to do it. And I did it because I was financially like independent enough that I could like find a man just for like the good qualities I love about him. And maybe he's a good guy, but she did only start with this dude. Like her marriage to this guy is pretty recent. She was single for most of the time that she was with the Young Turks and stuff. And I think this marriage came out of COVID and like some of the nutty shit that was happening in LA. And she like met a guy who lived in her building that was good to her and turned out to be like a right-wing guy. and this might be that guy. So, but yeah, she says, "Oh yeah, he was a couch surfing loser." It's kind of shitty that she's like throwing shade at her husband by basically saying, "I was like the boss bitch and he was nobody and I married him for love." So it's like he's like, I'm a gift to him. Do you see what I'm saying? How that's sort of presented?
Yeah. Also, Senior Stick says, and I don't have any confirmation, that he was an ex-pro athlete.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think I
So
think
6'1" and built like a Mack truck, probably.
I think that's right, Senior Sticks. I think it's right.
Yeah, so it's
So,
not.
yeah.
There's a little bit of sweetening.
Kind
in
of a
this deal.
Chad. Kind of a Chad.
There's a little
Just
sweetening in
an
this deal.
ex-Chad.
A little sweetening in Anna Kasparian's marriage deal there.
Yeah.
That she's not admitting to. But yeah, this is but again, what's the point of this? Like, seriously. Yeah, there exists women who will marry an ex-pro athlete who's 6'1". You know, if they are financially capable of doing so. Yeah, that's fine, but still, the largest risk factor for a man getting a divorce is losing his job around the world. And the biggest the biggest causal factor for a man being married is earning half as much more than the average man in his cohort. So doesn't matter, Anna. You may be an outlier. Congratulations to you. You don't establish the rule. And the fact is that if we want to pursue a romantic idea of love, perhaps we shouldn't embrace narratives that make men so inferior or seem so inferior on the moral axis, the emotional axis, the personality axis, the physical attractiveness axis, the sexual desirability axis, the expressing sexual desirability axis, the axes. Okay. The narrative around men in our society is so toxic. Like, on every single level, men are seen as inferior and not good investments for women, right? That's what we say about men. We say they're poor lovers. We say their desire is toxic. We say they're unesthetically appealing if they're short, or if they don't hit a very narrow boundary for looks. We say their personalities are bad. We say their emotions are underdeveloped, which is astounding if you think about it. And we say that they are less moral on every level that you would use to connect to a person emotionally and physically, spiritually, romantically, sexually. We say men are not worth it to women. So if you're going to say, well, let's have a society where men and women unite on a romantic level, well, you've destroyed that too. So not only do women earn more, we've destroyed the romantic basis that could have, met us a bit somewhere. You see what I'm saying, Brian? We could have just leaned more on that to continue to have relationships between men and women. We destroyed that too. Somehow, men were more desirable when they made substantially more than women. They were more desirable on every metric. Society saw them as more desirable on every metric. On a moral metric, on an emotional metric, on a personality metric, on a physical metric, on a metric in terms of their desires and their desirability. You go back 60 years and men were being sold on every single metric, including the romantic ones, not just the financial. But we decided to stop doing that while kneecapping men financially. So if you want to pursue your romantic model, Anna, you got to stop shitting on men, which means you got to stop promoting feminism. There you go.
All right. So you want to save this for next time?
Yeah, well, I like, we're at 2 hours here, Brian.
Yeah, I know. I'm ready to do that. That's fine.
My body is ready for a break from this.
This is a lot, but I do think that it's a good thing to look at, this debate. So yeah, we're gonna
yeah, we'll revisit it.
Follow up. We'll follow up next week.
Yeah, exactly.
And do more of this, but it's that's it. Well, let's do that. So.
Okay. All right, that's a bit of a... All right, so guys, if you want to send really quickly, if you have any comment to make, about this. Feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can do so after the show, but if you get it in really quick, maybe we can. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll poke the voles. I shall poke the voles for you all and see if there's anything in the tube
Get to poking.
yet to poke it. Let's see. This might be a little bit complicated because I had to restart, so I need to open everything up again, as you probably know. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Opening this. Is it going to open? Only time will tell. Oh, here we go.
Well, it's the beginning of the month, so.
It's a little bit further into the month. I mean, things are going by so freaking fast. Nope, we don't.
Well, February is a short one, so yeah, February is a short month.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's almost over now. February is sneaky like that. It's like, I'm going to be done as soon as you start. It's a very sneaky month. All right. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can send something at any time after the show is over, and we will receive it and we will respond to it. And since we're probably going to be revisiting this at the next show, if you have any commentary at all, send it there and we can talk about it next time. All right. There you go. So fundraiser isn't up yet. It's going to be at feedthebadger.com/support. So look out for that. And I will hand it back to you, Brian.
Okay. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today, and please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.
Hey, I'm hungry. Will you feed me? Please, I'm starving. Please give this video a like and subscribe!